Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
So whenever I introduce myself to people and they ask me what I do for a living, I tell them I'm a chef, there's always two questions that come first. One, what's your favorite thing to cook? And B, how did you become a chef? So I'll get back to what my favorite thing to cook is in a minute. I had an upbringing of two parents who both loved to cook. I grew up in Toronto, spent a lot of time down places like the St. Lawrence Market, across the street at the Farmers Market. Moved to Vancouver, had a chance to be with Granville Island and local farmers markets. And all through growing up, there was always homemade dinner when we got home, most days a week. And always coming in and finding those fresh smells when you come in the house. You know, when someone's sauteing onions or garlic or fresh herbs that get added to anything, and you walk in a house, from being outside, that smell, and it's only now that I realize that's probably played a huge role, that in the fresh food that we always had. So when I was in high school, just like everybody else, trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I thought, well, I'll just go to university like everybody else, and trying to figure out how I'm going to get there. I could play football, so I'll take a football scholarship. First game of grade 12, smashed my leg in. So that's out. So then I did a couple more things, built some speedboats, did a bit of bartending, and then realized I was at a career fair. And there was a company there talking about doing an apprenticeship program. Basically, that means that I get a chance to work, they'll send me to school, so I get paid and go to school. Awesome. I love to cook, so we started that. And after about 4 years, I decided that I'm going to go world traveling instead. And I can take my job with me, work, travel, and so I did. And it worked out really well. I had a chance to spend a lot of time in Europe, Southeast Asia, New Zealand. And in doing that, I got to work with some fantastic chefs, some different ingredients that helped build me my portfolio that I have today. And when I came back to Vancouver, I went to the Pacific Institute of Culinary Arts. I worked in some fantastic restaurants in Vancouver and had the opportunity then to move out to the Okanagan. And part of that incentive of coming up here was when I worked in Vancouver, we used to wait for the trucks to come down from the Okanagan, to come down with all the fresh fruit, the fresh veg. Now I live here, so I don't have to wait for those trucks. I get to go to the farms myself, and now we have our own farm, which is even better. So bringing my family up here, starting a family up here, I should say, has given me the chance to have a house, have a garden. And if I can get rough show of hands, I can't see much, but anybody here who has a garden or does garden? And pretty much everybody, awesome. So after I'm finished talking, don't everybody stand up right now, there's a little yellow envelope taped to the bottom of your chair. And in that envelope is a tomato, my father's English, sorry. What I want you to do is I want you to start that seed in the spring, inside, covered. Take it outside when the weather starts to warm up and there's less chance of frost, and plant it in your garden. Now, if you're lucky enough to have a house, you've got loads of space outside that you can do that with. You'll say, well, I have an apartment, I can't do it. Well, if you have a balcony, it takes one pot. If you don't have a balcony, there's usually a roof on your building that you're accessible to. Anywhere in front of a window. All we're looking for is somebody to start with that one seed. And it's going to remind you of this TEDx experience that we have here. But it's also going to educate you on food. So everybody here has already been growing vegetables and things like that, and they know what they taste like, but you're going to use less of the product, so we're not going to be reliant on the stores as much. We are going to intensify the flavors, and we're going to get back to knowing what food is about. In 2007, the world, or the planet, went from being rural to urban, which means we're running out of space. And they say after the year 2050, we're going to top 10 billion people. That's scary, because basically what's going to happen is we're taking a little over 6 times the population of the United States right now and trying to spread that around the world of what we have to use today. And that's going to be a hard thing to do. So as I have 2 young kids, and I try my best to educate them on food, where it comes from. You know, we go to the grocery store, everything's prepackaged, and don't understand where it primarily came from. I'm not saying that everybody now should go out and get a cow in their backyard or anything like that. It could be a bit awkward, but there is a movement, too, to start having backyard chickens. So I'm trying to get that going in Penticton here right now, and we're sort of in the process of trying to get it rolling. But large places like Vancouver and New York, LA, they all have them, plus smaller communities as well. And not only is it going to give younger generations an idea of where eggs come from. I'm not talking about having birds in the back to slaughter or anything like that, or roosters to annoy your neighbors, but when you go stand in an aisle and you see, like I said, the steaks cut or the eggs already wrapped up in carton, you sort of lose sight of where everything comes from. All this stuff is prepackaged. We need to get back to understanding what it means to grow food and where our food comes from and understanding a little bit more about it. So we have a chance here as well in Penticton. We have a fantastic farmers market. We have fantastic farmers around us, and get a chance to know them, whether it's to do with fresh veg, fresh fruit, your fishmongers, your butchers. Get back to knowing where the food came from. Talk to them. Where did they start to farm? Why did they start to farm? What kind of soil do they have? Why are they growing what they're growing? So you can understand when you go and get the peaches from this person, the plums from this person, the cherries from this person, the fruit, why it tastes the way it does, and why they have the same passion about what they grow and what they're trying to push it forward onto you. I have, like I said, I have 2 small kids, and we really look forward to, or I do, and slowly they are, hopefully. In the wintertime, we start planting seeds in the basement, and I have grow lights, and they're for growing plants, not anything else that usually grow lights are for. Just checking, police in the air. And they come down, and we set the pots out, and we fill them with soil, and we put the seeds in. We turn the lights on, and they're on a timer, so every day we get to go down. We get to see how they're doing. You know, the little green tip comes out, and Dad, look at it, look at it. And then come down a couple weeks later, and it's that little bit higher and a little bit higher. And then when the weather changes, we can have that greenhouse outside. So we put it all in the greenhouse, we watch them grow, and we water them, and we give them the nutrients they're looking for. And then when it's time to plant them in the garden, we go out and make sure the irrigation system is set up properly, and get to plant, and they get to put them in the ground, and they get to see how they're going to grow, and they get to see the end product, which is the most important part. Sometimes things get picked a little greener than they should, and sometimes they get pulled out saying, it's a weed. No, it's not. It's important for them to understand, and I think upcoming generations to understand and get back to how and why food tastes the way it does. Why does that tomato in the middle of winter taste like nothing? Why does it in the middle of summer, when you pick it and it's still warm, that fruit off the tree or the vegetable out of the garden, there's warming in the sun, that it just explodes all over your face with flavor and juice, and it's fantastic. And why you don't need to eat or put in your sauce all these different ingredients that really don't taste like much, but you have to put so much in there to intensify that flavor. And get back to, you know, if you manage to have a community garden even, you know, if you don't have that space or a house that you need to use, we have community gardens here. Go out, plant things, enjoy planting things, and have a chance to talk with other people. You know, the person, you could be growing 2 or 3 things in that. You know, there's no point in growing things that you're not going to eat. If you don't like zucchini, don't grow zucchini. But if you know you really like having tomato salad in the middle of summer, or you like having roasted peppers or things like that, then grow those. Because those are the things that are going to give you joy. They're going to help you enjoy dinner. If the person next to you is all of a sudden you see something growing there, and oh, what's that? You start trading, and you start giving things here and giving things there and trying all these different things. And what's going to happen is your food repertoire is going to grow as well, and your tastes are going to grow. I worked for a company in Vancouver quite a few years ago, and I was in charge of product development for them. And with that, I had a chance to travel to different places, and I came to the Okanagan, one of my first trips to the Okanagan actually, down towards Coston. And they were growing everything at that point, but they specialized in a lot of melons. So we sat down for a meeting, and before we sat down, he walked out, and we walked through the field, and he grabbed this melon, and he cut it in half. We scooped out the seeds, and we were probably talking for about 30 seconds. And I looked over, and that melon, the cavity in the center where we pulled all the seeds out, had filled up with juice. And you could smell the perfume and everything that comes off it. And it was the most amazing thing I'd ever seen because, again, I never had a chance to pick a melon right out of the field. I mean, I've been cooking for 20 years, been a chef for about 10 of them, but I never really had a chance to experience that kind of thing. So I just had to stop the meeting and asked him for a spoon and dug right into the melon. And I don't think I've ever tasted anything like that again. Probably because it was the first time having something like that, but it's stuck in my brain. And that's something that I think is starting to lose focus of. We're starting to lose the idea and the taste of what food is supposed to be. It's about getting back to basics. It's about understanding what can grow here. We live in a fantastic area that a lot of things do grow. You know, there's places throughout Canada, and that we don't have the same weather patterns. We don't have the same soil that can adapt and grow to these kind of things, and we're losing sight of that. And I think for us, we're definitely going to have a better understanding of how food is going to work for us and how we need to work towards food as the future comes along. When we get back to, like I said, what is my favorite thing to cook? Well, you know what? I have a lot of things. I've traveled the world. I've enjoyed a lot of different cuisines. I've enjoyed working with a lot of different chefs. But what it gets back down to is literally when your hands are green and dirty from digging in the garden, you come inside and you bring that product inside and you cook something with it, whatever it is, that's going to be my favorite thing to cook. Because I know I put my heart and soul into that. I got my family involved in it. My kids are involved in it. And they get a chance to taste really what food is about. There's so many, we talked before, processed things out there that don't really taste like anything anymore. And they need to taste what you put your heart and soul into. Thank you very much.